Hello friends, welcome to Syntax Diary. In this video, we will talk about the most important API interview questions and answers that can help you get ready for your next job interview. Before we start, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Also, please share this video with your friends who are preparing for interviews. It might help them too. So now let's move to the first question. What is an API? API is an acronym and it stands for Application Programming Interface. API is a set of routines, protocols, and tools for building software applications. APIs specify how one software program should interact with other software programs. In simple words, API stands for Application Programming Interface. API acts as an interface between two software applications and allows the two software applications to communicate with each other. API is a collection of software functions which can be executed by another software program. Now let's move to the second question. What is API testing? API testing is a type of software testing that involves testing APIs directly and also as a part of integration testing to check whether the API meets expectations in terms of functionality, reliability, performance, and security of an application. In API testing, our main focus will be on the business logic layer of the software architecture. API testing can be performed on any software system which contains multiple APIs. Now let's move to the next question. What are the common API testing types? API testing typically involves the following practices. First is unit testing, then functional testing, load testing, runtime or error detection, security testing, UI testing, interoperability and WS compliance testing, penetration testing, fuzz testing. Now let's move to the next question. Name some of the common protocols used in API testing. Some of the protocols used in API testing are as follows: REST, SOAP, JMS, UDDI. Let's move to the next question. Difference between API and web services. All web services are APIs, whereas all APIs are not web services. All web services need to be exposed over web, whereas all APIs need not to be exposed over web. A web services uses only three styles of use, that is SOAP, REST, and XML RPC for communication, whereas API uses multiple ways for communication, example DLL files in C, C++, jar files or RMI in Java, interrupt in Linux kernel API, etc. A web service always needs a network to operate, whereas APIs don't need a network for operation. Now let's move to the next question. What is SOAP? SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. It is an XML-based messaging protocol. It helps in exchanging information among computers. Now let's move to the next question. What is REST API? REST stands for Representational State Transfer. It is a set of functions helping developers in performing requests and receiving responses. Interaction is made through HTTP protocol in REST API. Difference between SOAP and REST. SOAP is a protocol through which two computers communicate by sharing XML document, whereas REST is a service architecture and designed for network-based software architecture. SOAP supports only XML format, whereas REST supports different data formats. SOAP does not support caching, whereas REST supports caching. SOAP is slower than REST, whereas REST is faster than SOAP. SOAP is like custom desktop application closely connected to the server, whereas REST client is just like a browser and uses a standards method. SOAP runs on HTTP but envelops the message, whereas REST uses the HTTP headers to hold meta information. What are the common tests that are performed on APIs? Some of the common tests we perform on APIs are as follows. Verify whether the return value is based on input condition. Response of the API should be verified based on the request. Verify whether the system is authenticating the outcome when the API is updating any data structure. Verify whether the API triggers some other event or request another API. Verify the behavior of API when there is no return value. What are the advantages of API testing? API testing is time effective when compared to GUI testing. API test automation needs less coding, making it quicker and giving better test coverage. API testing helps us to reduce the testing cost. With API testing, we can identify minor bugs before the GUI testing. These minor bugs will become bigger during the GUI testing, so finding those bugs in the API testing will be cost effective to the company. API testing is language independent. API testing is quite helpful in testing core functionality. We can test the APIs without a user interface. In GUI testing, we need to wait until the application is available to test the core functionalities. API testing helps us to reduce the risks. What exactly needs to be verified in API testing? In API testing, we send a request to the API with known data and analyze the response. Key aspects we check that include data accuracy, HTTP status codes, response time, error codes in case API returns any errors, authorization checks, non-functional testing such as performance testing and security testing. Name some tools used for API testing. Some of the tools used for API testing are as follows: Postman, API Signs, Catalan Studio, API Area Inspector, SOAP UI, Citrus Framework, Assertable, Hippie Swagger, and many more I have listed down here. List some most used templates for API documentation. Some of the API documentation templates are as follows: Swagger, FlatDoc, RESTdoc, API Blueprint, Slate, Mardot, Web Services API Specification. Name some of the API examples which are quite popular. Some of the popular API examples are Google Maps API, YouTube, Twitter, Amazon Advertising API. Difference between API testing and unit testing. Unit testing is conducted by development team, whereas API testing is conducted by QA team. Unit testing is a form of white box testing, whereas API testing is a form of black box testing. Unit testing is conducted prior to the process of including the code in the build, whereas API testing is conducted after the build is ready for testing. Source code is involved in unit testing, whereas source code is not involved in API testing. In unit testing, the scope of testing is limited, so only basic functionalities are considered for testing. Whereas in API testing, the scope of testing is wide, so all the issues that are functional are considered for testing. What are the main challenges faced in API testing? Some of the challenges we face while doing API testing are as follows: selecting proper parameters and its combinations, categorizing the parameters properly, proper call sequencing is required as this may lead to inadequate coverage in testing, verifying and validating the output. Due to absence of GUI, it is quite difficult to provide input values. What are the types of bugs we face when performing API testing? Bugs we face when performing API testing are stress, performance and security issues, duplicate or missing functionality, reliability issues, improper messaging, incompatible error handling mechanism, multi-threaded issues, improper errors. How is UI testing not similar to API testing? User interface testing is to test the graphical interface part of the application. Its main focus is to test the look and feel of an application. On the other hand, API testing enables communication between two different software systems. Its main focus is in the business layer of the application. Name some most commonly used HTTP methods. Some of the HTTP methods are GET. It enables you to retrieve data from a server. POST. It enables you to send data to a server to create or update a resource. PUT. It allows you to replace an existing file or resource on a server. Delete. It lets you delete data from a server. Patch. It is used to apply partial modifications to a resource. Options. It is used to describe the communication options for the target resource. Head. It asks for a response identical to that of a GET request but without the response body. Can you use a GET request instead of PUT to create a resource? No, GET request only allows read-only writes. It enables you to retrieve data from a server but cannot create a resource. PUT or POST methods should be used to create a resource. What is the difference between PUT and POST methods? PUT and POST methods are often confused regarding their uses. A POST request is used to create a new object on the server, while a PUT request is used to replace an existing object with another. POST should be used when the client sends data to the server and the server determines where to store it. On the other hand, PUT should be used when the client specifies the exact location where the data should be stored. So that's all for today's video. I hope you found it useful. And one small request from you all. If you liked this video, please don't forget to give it a like. And please subscribe to the channel for more helpful content. And share it with your friends. Please let me know in comments which question you found the most helpful, or if there is any other topic you want me to cover. Please comment down and let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. All the best guys for your interviews, and happy learning.